Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? And we have one small area that we need to remove under recognitions, A and B. We'll do that at another time. So I have a motion to approve the agenda with that small modification.
I move we approve the agenda with the modification as were stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
First, thank you. Motion carries. Delegations, we have none. Agenda items, we have none. Communication report. Dr. Hutchins.
Well, like everyone else, last weekend was graduation weekend, and I thought they were all wonderful. I think our administrators did a good job. I thought the students were so very well behaved. I was really proud of everything that happened. They were all good. But in addition to the high school graduations, I also had the privilege of attending a pre-K graduation. So I saw the beginning and I saw the end. And it was really interesting to see those little guys and then see the bigger ones. But I guess with seeing both of those, excuse me, I would say to parents, time passes quickly. From that pre-K to that high school graduation will happen in the blink of an eye. So I would say to them, enjoy every minute, hold on to all of those memories, get involved in everything you can, because before you know it, it's going to be over.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Well, like Dr. Hutchins, I attended the graduations. I thought they were all awesome, and it just amazed me how each school put their twist on the graduations, which made them unique. And I was invited to Hollywood's Fun Day, and that was fun. That was fun. The kids were having a blast. The teachers were having fun, and it was a good day.
Ms. Hambrick?
The same thing both my colleagues said. Graduations were great. And I really, really, really love when those kids go back to their elementary school and walk the halls. I love it. It's good. It was all good.
Okay. Mr. Snuffer?
In turn, did graduations too. I had the honor of Liberty's graduation, which went really well. I'm sorry about getting so hot up there that I just couldn't. When I got outside, I was burning up, guys. I'm sorry. Just had to be close a little bit. Yeah, I was just too warm. I was too warm out there, you know. What can I say? Just had to cool off a little bit, but I'm okay now. Yeah. There's a camera. There's a camera everywhere. There's a camera everywhere. What can you say? You know. But that's the way it goes. Yeah. Well, I thought everybody was. You know what do you say? But and then Marcia and I did the ACT, and that was a special graduation too. It's a different graduation, but it really was a really good graduation. Those individuals, some of them are maybe even 40, 50 years old, have come back to school and are getting their trade and stuff and still came in for graduation. Some have been working and came back for graduation, already graduated. So it was a special graduation, and I really enjoyed it. Also, the project graduation at Liberty went really well. They had a good thing there. Other schools did too, but theirs went well. The tracks and tennis courts at Liberty, I haven't been at Woodrow, but the ones at Liberty, they're getting things tore up and looking good and stuff. So everything's looking good, and I know we have a full summer agenda. Mr. Daniels probably got a big list of things that everybody wants done, but I'm sure we'll do everything we can. But it's amazing. I think people don't realize how short the window is between when school's out and school starts. I mean, we have students until what, tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, and we start back August what? 26. So, not that many days to be able to do stuff within a building without students being present. So it does put a lot of pressure on us. But it's amazing what our maintenance department gets done, our contractors get done, and what we're able to deliver. I always have great pride in our buildings and our facilities. It's just amazing to me. That's it.
Oh, thank you. Well, the only thing I've got, I also attended only one graduation, Shady, and actually this year, I can't remember when the class was as large as it was. They had 192 that walked, and I think there was about 5 more graduates that did not walk, but they did graduate. So it's a really large class. And Last week, we had an opportunity to meet with the school building authority, Mr. Dillon, Dr. Starcher, myself, and they toured Woodrow Wilson High School. And the director of the school building authority, Mr. Neptune, did I get that right? If anybody from Woodrow, you need to hear this. He said he's been in every school in West Virginia, and he's never found a school that was as clean as Woodrow Wilson High School. So I think that's a plus for the custodians out there. And that's all I got. Dr. Starch.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. So I was going to mention tomorrow is our last day of school. It is a 3-hour early dismissal. I know in the past, the Director of Transportation's always been pleased to report all students are delivered home safely tomorrow. So that'll be a great day. It's been a great school year, and tomorrow will be a great end. And we certainly wish all students and their families and staff a wonderful summer break. Although, as Mr. Snuffer says, it's not as long as some might think it is. Graduations, I agree with Ms. Smith. Each of our schools puts its own little twist on graduation, all special for different reasons. But I just absolutely love the flowers at Independence High School. I just think that's a special touch that the students and Miss Green brought that to Independence High School, and that's a really nice touch. So I'm really proud of this, all 5 high school principals in ACT. We recently had Move Up Day across the county, and I'm not sure if you saw a post about that on Facebook or not, but particularly I saw the high schools more so than any other schools post about Move Up Day and the events that took place on Move Up Day. And I've had some wonderful reports from our schools and students and staff, families about Move Up Day and how their fears are kind of relieved, especially those moving from middle to high school. So it was a great day. We did that across the county, except for the Liberty area because of softball. We had to have it a different day, but I think that went very well. And kudos to our schools for that. You have a couple of books before you. Can I borrow yours? They look like, well, this is a copy of one because we had just enough, I think, of the secondary. This is the elementary summer adventures, and then this is the secondary summer adventures. Miss Blankenship and Miss Hodges lead that work. But this is something we started last year. We've continued it this year. So we do encourage parents, you should be receiving a copy of this coming home with your child. There's a lot of great activities and information in that book to support the students and their parents throughout the summer months. So we hope you find something in there at least that will help you during the summer. And then towards the back of that book, you'll see the calendar, a couple of different versions of the calendar for you for next year. So again, thank you to Miss Hodges and Miss Blankenship for that. I don't believe we have it on the website yet, but on Facebook, which I know we can't see it, but we have a video. It's about 3.5 minutes. It was prepared by students at ACT. I'm not planning to watch that this evening, but as you know, we had the Superintendent's Advisory Council this year, and each of the 5 schools represented prepared a video. Kind of like a promotional video of things going on at their school or in their attendance area. So ACT's is the first one we put up. Again, it's about 3.5 minutes long. We won't watch that tonight, but I'd encourage you to go to the website. The students prepared these videos. Independence High's is next to be released, but we're just going to release them periodically over the next couple weeks. So I encourage you to go to those, and we were really pleased with the work of our students. And then the last thing two things. The professional development schedules for the fall have been sent to the schools, both professional and service. So our staff has that. It's a full slate of events or sessions, PD sessions for our staff. So that's all in place. It's only a couple months from now. We're ready to go again. I think people don't always realize what kind of work you have to do now to be ready for the fall. But Miss Lowry and Mr. Dillon have worked diligently on that, and we're ready to go in the fall. Last thing I'll say is I see Angie Foster sitting back there. I would assume this is Miss Foster's last board meeting, and I just want to recognize her and thank her for her years of service to school health, and then as our director of school health for the last several years. I think back to the COVID pandemic, she was a rock upstairs and on late night phone calls. So she's been a huge asset to school health, and we're really, really going to miss her. The new director will have huge shoes to fill. But Ms. Foster's obviously willing to help assist that new director as we get underway. But anyway, I just wanted to recognize her and, again, thank her for all she's done for Raleigh County. She's welcome here anytime. And with that's all I have to say. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on other reports, West Virginia Legislature Senate Bill 280 mandate. Dr. Starcher and Mr. Jordan, Pastor Jordan, excuse me. Go ahead.
He's back there.
I lost you, Pastor Jordan. So just a little background. This past legislative session, our legislature passed Senate Bill 280. And it's titled Displaying Official U.S. Motto in Public Schools. It passed April 12th. It's effective 90 days from passage. So I'm just going to read a snippet. A public elementary or secondary school shall display in a conspicuous location within a common area of the main building of the school that is accessible to the public, and may also display in a similar location in common areas in other buildings of the school a durable poster or framed copy of the United States national motto, "In God We Trust," provided that the poster or framed copy of the national motto described in this section is a minimum of 8.5 by 11 inches and shall contain a representation of the United States flag centered under the national motto and may not depict any other words, images, or other information. A public elementary or secondary school may accept and use private donations for the purposes of meeting the provisions of this section. No public funds may be used for this purpose. So this is a bill that passed this legislative session. And I have to say thank you to Miss Polly. Miss Polly came to me and said, I've talked with my pastor, and my pastor at our church would be willing to purchase these signs to be hung in our schools. So we are here today because Pastor Jordan and Calvary Assembly of God stepped forward and offered to purchase these framed posters. Pastor Jordan, would you like to come forward? Well, Mr. Dillon has it. These boxes over here to our left are these posters, framed posters. And you can share that with everybody, Pastor Jordan. But obviously, as I said, we can't use public funds for it, but Pastor Jordan did it for us. So, and again, Miss Polly worked with him, talked with him. So I certainly thank Miss Polly as well. But Pastor Jordan, thank you so much.
You want to say anything?
Yes, and you can certainly speak. But we'll get these all out to our schools and be ready to go so we can comply with this law in the fall.
Well, thank you. And we counted it a great privilege. I'm glad Rachel reached out to me and informed me of what our state legislation had done and given us this opportunity. I've got a couple of board members here, and one of them you guys would be familiar with, Tammy Akers. She serves on our church board, and I'd already planned on talking to my board, but before the board meeting, Tammy had also reached out to me and said, "Hey, Pastor, can we talk about this at the board meeting?" And so it was a pretty slam dunk thing for us to do, and we're just honored to be able to partner with the Board of Education to see this happen. So thank you all for this opportunity.
Pastor Jordan, who's your other board member?
That is Eric Floresca. And I invited my entire board, but those are the only two that's going to be able to make it, were able to make it tonight. But anyway, yeah, that's Eric Floresca. So appreciate the board. And I'll just say it's good to have our sheriff, who's also from my church, here. Yeah, a little plug. So anyway.
So, Pastor,
Oh yeah, and my wife's the music teacher at Crescent Elementary. That's what they just said.
Yes.
So yeah, we're and she's
well, if,
yeah,
we could,
anyway,
if we could get a picture, if you don't mind, maybe your two board members would come up
Okay.
and we'll get a picture of you with our poster. Miss Polly, are you going to take that picture? We'll take the. Very nice.
You do it.
Doctor, y'all get y'all's picture, won't you get Rachel a picture?
Yes. I'll take it.
Okay. Right there, move over just a little bit. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Hold. Hold.
Okay, Miss Polly, you got that.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Up there.
Great Sheriff, you wanted the picture too?
Come on.
Yes.
there.
Come on.
There you go.
I saw you taking the picture. So,
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. 1. Hold is what I have to say. 2, 3. Hold.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor Jordan. And if anybody needs to leave after the presentation, it's okay, but you're certainly welcome to stay for the meeting.
Stay for a little while.
Okay.
I have a board meeting tonight with these folks, so I have to do that too. So.
Yeah, it's not going to be a long meeting. Okay. Transpar Group Transportation Bus Survey Results.
President Ford, tonight we have Micah Brassfield from Transpar Group. If you recall, Transpar Group is the company we contracted with to conduct the transportation efficiency study. So Ms. Brassfield is here to present a summary of the results. So we certainly appreciate being able to work with Ms. Brassfield and Mr. Martin and Mr. Brassfield. So we're happy to have you here and look forward to your presentation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for having me here tonight. As Dr. Starcher shared, we were engaged back in October, and we thank the Board of Education for entrusting Transpar with the opportunity to serve the district as you evaluated your transportation operations. And I think it's important to note that the time frame in which the study was conducted was from October to January. So we actually concluded our study back in January, and there have been some transitions since then. And we've heard a number of great things with regards to Mr. Tony now being in the role and a lot of the changes that he's implementing to try to address some of the challenges that the district has been facing. So tonight in no way is meant to be critical of the department at all. We know that there are a lot of issues that districts across the nation are facing, and Raleigh County Schools is not alone in some of the challenges that it's facing with regards to student transportation. I don't know, does everybody have a copy of the presentation with them this evening? Okay. That's okay. I've got it on my phone as well. There were things that I would reference. So if you do have questions as I go through, since you don't have it in front of you, then just feel free to stop me. But tonight it is really meant to be a high level summary. The district was provided with a full report back at the beginning of February. And so tonight is really just to summarize the work that we've done and to provide the district with recommendations going forward. The work began, our team was on site in the end of October, the week of October 21st, I believe, in which we conducted multiple data collection analyses in where we looked at route efficiency for the district. We also looked at district policies, primarily how the state governs student transportation operations through policy 4336. We looked at the financial aspect of operations and your fleet and maintenance as well. At a high level, some of the challenges that Raleigh was facing whenever we were engaged were with regards to route cancellations and how students were being adversely impacted by buses not being able to run regularly. And part of that is really attributed to the national school bus driver shortage. That was even further exacerbated by chronic absenteeism. And so one of the things that we noted in our report was that having policies in place to both encourage the driver participation of actually showing up on a daily basis, as well as looking at the efficiency of routes, which drives the demand for operations. Oh, great. If you will go to slide 4. Five, thank you. So part of what we noted, and again, this is not intended to be critical, our job is to come in and try to help evaluate what issues you're facing and what some of those underlying causes are. So Raleigh has primarily operated with roughly the same routes from one year to the next, but that is required to be evaluated annually when you're taking into account things like how many drivers you have available, who's actually showing up to work, and then looking at that in the context of today's industry where routing software has become essentially a norm. And it's something that many districts can't operate without. It gives you the ability to integrate with your student information systems, which allows you to see every student on a map and then to overlay those routes from one year to the next to determine whether or not they're still efficient in current state. So one of the key observations with regards to routes are looking at the district moving forward with evaluating various routing softwares and implementing a routing software to help with optimizing the efficiency of bus routes moving forward. As far as staffing is concerned, I mentioned the driver shortage being an issue, but there are other key areas where we've noted opportunities to help improve with driver retention and training, which is in your safety and training department. So primarily the district has utilized 2 part-time retired trainers that come as their schedule allows, but has become pretty standard across the industry for districts to have at least 1 full-time trainer for 50 to 100 bus drivers. And that's incredibly important when you're looking at trying to expedite and hire bus drivers quickly, so that as these individuals are going through training, they're not having to wait a long time to go through the training process and obtain their first paycheck. And we see across the nation that that's where many drivers are lost. It's not that the district is not doing its due diligence and trying to recruit individuals, but if it takes too long for those individuals to get through the process, they've got to find another opportunity elsewhere in order to make a living wage. Another area that we noted and we spent a lot of time looking at was with regards to fleet and facilities. And that's an opportunity where, again, technology through the use of a fleet management information system would allow the district to be in compliance with keeping track of preventative maintenance in more of a digital and readily accessible manner. We know that those things are being done, but a lot of it is manual in nature, and it makes it difficult for you to recall that information and to track it as accurately as you need to and as accessibly as you need to. So again, just at a high level, looking at the tools and technology that the district is utilizing for the provision of student transportation services, ensuring that when you are scheduling your bus routes, you're also looking at things like your bell times. And one of the key challenges for Raleigh is that you've got 29 different schools with 24 different bell times and 13 different instructional lengths of day. And when we talk in student transportation about the ability to become more efficient, time and capacity are the 2 levers that you have in order to do that. But if you don't have the ability to to group your bell times into tiers, if you will, that makes sense, where you've got a group that starts first and all of those schools start and end at the same time. They all go the same length of day. And then you have enough time between when that first group of schools start and end before the next wave of transportation ends or starts and ends, that it makes it very difficult for you to plan your bus routes in a manner that either you're not having to cancel them or where they can get to and from your schools on time. So bell times were another key part of utilizing the routing software, but being able to plan strategically with regards to how your bells in schools or bell times in schools are structured. And then again, just in general, identifying key roles that you may be missing in terms of your current operations. That safety and training piece, as well as the number of routes that you're required to operate, is what drives the number of drivers, no pun intended, to actually operate the system. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So some of the key recommendations, and it's important for us to reiterate that Transpar, and I didn't share this at the beginning, so Transpar has been in existence for almost 30 years. We've operated since 1995. We support districts literally from Hawaii to Rhode Island. We manage the entire system for the state of Hawaii as well as Rhode Island and other smaller districts in between. But we do a significant amount of work with advisory, which is where we're serving you all today. And our goal is to make sure that we make recommendations that we ourselves have already successfully implemented in other districts, or that we would implement if you needed assistance in implementing them. One of the recommendations that we made that we know would be a potential challenge for Raleigh County schools, but we would be remiss if we did not provide you this recommendation, is looking at a 3-tier schedule. And a true 3-tier system allows districts to fill and reuse those same buses for 3 different groupings of school. A lot of times districts group by elementary, middle, and high school. Sometimes districts are required based on the demand. So maybe you have, and typically you have more runs on your elementary level than you do at some of your secondary levels. So sometimes it requires you to split groups. Elementaries may be on your first, second, and third tier, if it makes sense, in order to divide those runs and routes accordingly. But the goal is, by filling and reusing buses as many times as possible, you are able to reduce the total number of buses and drivers that are required to operate the system. And when we modeled a 3-tier scenario for Raleigh, it provided the opportunity to reduce up to 13 bus routes. Does that mean we're firing drivers? Absolutely not. We don't recommend that anybody fires drivers because you need every driver that you have. And the reality of why you were having to cancel routes at the beginning of the school year is because of absenteeism and the fact that you already don't have enough drivers to cover. So if you could implement either a 3-tier system, or if that's not feasible for the district for a number of various reasons, then at minimum, we're recommending you try to group and increase the time between your 2 primary tiers. And that would allow you to fill and add more students to buses, because right now you're not maximizing your capacity. You have plenty of space on buses, you just don't have enough time. And a lot of that has to do with your geography as well, but it is an opportunity for the district to consider in order to reduce runs and try to mitigate the driver shortage. The other pieces, as I mentioned, have been in investing in technology, not just for your routing software, but for your fleet management information system and your fleet maintenance processes. Again, looking at enhancing your organizational staffing and structure. And then another piece that I think it's important to note is, as the district takes these recommendations and evaluates which it might want to move forward with, we recommend you establishing a transportation committee to get a representative group of people from across the district and various departments, as well as parent stakeholders and even student stakeholders, to evaluate what might we move forward with, to get their feedback along the way, and then to move forward with recommendations that you feel like the committee is in support of. Allowing them to see the report, allowing them to see the information and the data that we collected is important, because we want people to understand that change is difficult, but oftentimes when they see the information behind it and recognize that this change is to help address the fact that students haven't been getting to school in many instances this school year, and we're trying to do what's best for students. And so creating a committee where you get that buy-in, but also just helping educate them on the challenges that the district is facing is something that we recommend. So if the district moves forward with any of the recommendations, or as you have these discussions, evaluating that with a committee that's representative of your district departments as well as your community is one of the key recommendations that we've made. So in conclusion, Last slide really just reiterates the fact that you're not alone in your challenges. We see this across the nation with regards to combating the driver shortage. It was particularly difficult after the pandemic, as we've mentioned with just the impact to operations earlier. There were a lot of drivers that did not return after the pandemic. There were a lot of people who sought other opportunities, and so we've seen many of our districts not return to the number of routes and drivers that they were operating prior to 2020. And so the reality is you have to evaluate what your demand for transportation is and try to determine, is there a way for you to optimize and run those routes in a more efficient manner. So making those strategic investments in either technology or staffing, looking at things like bell times are opportunities for Raleigh to move forward into a new era of transportation. We've had really good conversation with Mr. Tony a few weeks ago and Dr. Starcher and Mr. Dillon. And he's got a lot of great ideas and things that he's already moving forward with implementing to try to address those challenges. And so hopefully this information is beneficial to the district as well as Mr. Tony, as it's the busiest time of year for transportation. You've already noted you've got very few days left before you start back again. And so this is the busiest time of year and one of the most important timeframes for the district to evaluate potentially making these changes, if not for this next school year, going into the 26-27 year. So I will pause there and open up for any questions.
Any questions? But you did a good job.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening.
One thing I was saying is you said 13 buses. Now you also had the two-tier system up there. If you looked at two-tier, what would be the reduction?
So you have the ability to reduce runs in the two-tier, and that's a great question because runs don't necessarily equate to removing buses off the road. And so the three-tier system is what really, it gives you an immediate opportunity to remove buses. However, if you remove runs, you might find the opportunity to take some of those runs that are no longer needed on a subsequent tier, and to better serve and maybe even reduce ride time. So you're more so going to enhance the service quality, potentially having drivers available where you would have canceled runs, but now because you've reduced those runs, you can now allocate those drivers to cover possible cancellations. But where you really have the opportunity to remove buses and to potentially reduce costs is by looking at a three-tier system.
My biggest thing, and you noted there, is topography of the county.
Yes, sir.
I mean, when you get to Clear Fork and the Marsh Fork area, even out Gent and stuff in some other areas, it's hard to get buses down, back, things like that.
Yes, sir.
It makes it difficult. But I appreciate your study.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If I may,
Yes, ma'am.
I learned that we actually have a three-tier system working in some of our schools, or a quasi three-tier. And
Correct.
I would Hollywood goes to school earlier than Mabscott. So we have the Woodrow run, but then Hollywood students go to school, and then those same buses go back and get Mabscott students. So we have three tiers. It's not high school, elementary, middle, or how she described it, but we have that. And then we do the same. We have Woodrow, and then we have Crescent, and then Maxwell Hill. So we have essentially a three-tier like that, correct? That's what I
Correct. So in
understood.
portions of your current
That's
routes, yes,
I mean, that's
you
all we
have
but,
a semblance of three tiers. And those are opportunities where if you look at increasing times in those particular areas, maybe that's a pilot or something that you can start with as opposed to doing wholesale changes. But it certainly does create the framework because you're already doing it in some areas. And I think when we talked a few weeks ago, maybe just increasing that time by 15 minutes in this next year could provide a little bit more opportunity for Mr. Tony and the team to find some efficiencies in current state.
One thing we shared, that first bus, I mean, right now we have secondary first. Part of our discussion was, can you switch elementary and secondary? So we moved on past that for now, but we said, and Mr. Tony said, I really can't pick up our secondary students any earlier. They're on the bus early. So if we were to extend those time frames, it would be just pushing everything later in the day. I mean, not super late, but we would not be really open to picking up our secondary students any earlier than we are. But I thought it was interesting. I didn't think we had 3-tier, but then I said, well, we do this. And
Right.
I think it was Mr. Martin who said, no, that's already like a 3-tier.
Correct.
But that's all here in Beckley. To Mr. Snuffer's point, those schools are closer in terms of location.
And so every district is unique in terms of its preference for who goes first, second, or third. Some districts, you do have the school start later movement for high school students because they need more sleep. I used to be a high school English teacher and coach, so I understand that when they're coming to school. So you a lot of it is the preference, but then in situations where your topography is different as well, it may not be that every route can have 3 runs in a 3-tier system. There may be those that can only serve a first and a third tier. And so that's another area where routing software comes into play. You get the opportunity to model these scenarios as opposed to just trying to, in your mind, visualize how might we be able to move these pieces of the puzzle around in order to make it more efficient. So it's certainly a preference of the district, and you've got to move forward with, and again, that's why the committee is important. Get that feedback for what works best for Raleigh, but noting that these are best practices that have helped districts become more efficient.
I would say that several times, and Rick, you may remember this, in Raleigh County, the discussion of elementary versus high school and who to pick up first has occurred on several different occasions. And for various reasons, it has been rejected.
I pushed that for a while until I got beat down enough and the bruises hit. It doesn't, well, I don't say it doesn't work. People in Raleigh County just think it works because of sports. I'll just be honest with you.
Well, sports was a big thing, people wanting the older kids home before the little ones
Right,
got
they
there.
want
so
them there.
There was somebody there.
And they also
So
wanted
there's-
them, there's a lot of different.
There are a bunch of things
But,
in there, but it's worth discussion.
I mean, the data shows, and you said it, that high school kids do better and perform
They do
better
better when
at
they
a
come
later
to
start
school
date
later.
than the elementary schools do because of their biological clock. I don't think it's something we can't not look at again. We can always discuss it and see.
I will say that the Superintendent's Advisory Council, Student Advisory Council, this came up. So then we talked about it and what that looks like on the back end of the day for them. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they decided they like it the way it is.
That's what I figured.
But I mean, it was even a discussion. They brought it up with us. So it's certainly,
They like staying in bed another hour, but they don't like getting home an hour later. That's the thing.
right. And athletics, but a lot of our students also have jobs
Yes, they got
in the
jobs.
evening.
Yes,
So
yep.
it's definitely a discussion point. Certainly, we would really have to try to garner input from our community because it could have a tremendous effect, particularly on parents with young children. State policy says, a responsible person has to be at the bus stop to get a pre-K3 student off the bus. And we've allowed that to be their older siblings, but if they're not there yet,
Yep.
now parents have a difficult time
That's true.
with
That's true.
student arrival at home. So anyway, can you go back a slide?
Aircraft to it.
Um,
Go back a slide.
he did. The enhanced staffing and organizational structure. This was something that Transpar brought up. Add dedicated routing and safety and training roles, and consider creating driving positions which offer full-time benefits to improve driver hiring and retention. So in our conversation, correct me if I'm wrong, but it came up that perhaps we have what we would call full-time positions with benefits, but each day the person reports and we assign them to a bus to drive. So, I mean, we wouldn't call them a full-time substitute. I don't know that that's really legal, but they're a full-time employee, but then they could drive whatever bus we needed that day.
But not particularly assigned to an individual bus.
Exactly, but they receive benefits. And I think Mr. Tony shared that another county in West Virginia is already, at least one other county is doing that. I wanted to make sure we mention that too. And that's one of
Absolutely.
the recommendations that came about.
And we
But I
do.
thought-
We see that. So districts, some refer to them as substitute drivers, some refer to them as cover drivers. And these tend to be some of your veteran drivers who, when you have absenteeism, they can hop on any route and it's not going to adversely impact the students. A lot of times what you happen when someone has to cover a route last minute, they don't know the route as well. They miss a stop, they miss students. And so for consistency, but also from a compensation and benefits standpoint, a lot of times that helps with recruiting and retention as well. So it is something that we see in districts across the nation. Yes, sir. Thank you all very much.
you.
Thank you.
I move we approve the consent items as were submitted to us.
Mr. Ford, I have a question about one of the
We'll
payments.
take one of them off then. Just which, okay, I move that we, what was that, payment of bills, Charlotte?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, I move we approve the consent items with removal of B, payment of bills.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consent item D.
Okay, my question would be, and I don't have it in front of me, and I apologize for that because I did have it written down. If my memory serves me correctly, when I was going through bills, it appears that, and Amy may know this, that during last month, we paid Bowles Rice $32,000.
I want to say it was
I think that is
34.
Astonishing.
I think it was 34. I do.
34? Well, okay.
I
I was
think
thinking 32.
that is the invoice for that included the personnel season.
That's a lot. That's a heck of a
A
lot.
lot of legal fees, yeah.
Hopefully that won't continue and hopefully we won't have to do that anymore. But
I hope we won't have the kind of personnel season next year we had this
of
year.
course, I think Bowles Rice is a little different anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But some thousand is just a lot for 1 month. Yep.
So do I have a motion to approve the consent items? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. New business. Approved affiliation agreement with Raleigh General Hospital and ACT practice.
It's standard. It's our normal agreement that we would have with Raleigh General for the LPN program.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Consideration of personnel approved superintendent's recommendations for 24-25 year.
My recommendation is as presented.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation for 24-25 as were presented.
Second.
Motion's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approved superintendent's recommendations for personnel 25-26 year.
Okay. We have a few names to add. On page 1, under central office,
Hang on.
it's the pink copy.
Yep, pink one. Yeah, got you.
Under central office letter A, the first TBA, that would be Angie Pretty from school nurse to director of school health services.
Angie Pretty.
Angie Pretty. The second TBA is Amanda Richmond from Principal Maxwell Hill Elementary School to Assistant Director of Federal Programs and Child Nutrition. And then under elementary principals, TBA, that is Stephanie Jill Wright from teacher Fairdale Elementary School to assistant principal Beckley Elementary. With those changes, my recommendation is as presented.
Okay, got the recommendation from superintendent. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation with the corrections that were noted. And tell Jill I'm not happy with her leaving, so just so you know, but I understand, they're moving up.
Marcia, you second. Motion's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Yeah,
Amy, I noticed on here, I know I'm not a big fan of this with grades we did, but we can, what, if those numbers change, what's the latest date that that can be?
If we have on or before August 1st, on or before, we can rescind.
Even though it's already listed in here and been voted on, if the circumstances, the numbers go up at those schools, that can be rescinded.
August 1st.
Yes, ma'am. And you'll see on page 3, we have a recommendation to rescind prior board action for some of the ACT teachers that were previously identified. So that's how you would see it denoted through there, the recommendation to rescind the prior board action. You're welcome.
Okay, the motion's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve out-of-state travel for Miss Polly to attend the CSTA annual conference in Cleveland, Ohio. Whoopee.
Miss Polly's free to speak if she'd like. Our current policy says if employees go out of state for travel in consecutive years, then it requires board approval. Miss Polly was out of state last year for a conference, so this would require board approval.
I move we approve sending Miss Polly to the CST conference in Cleveland. I'm sorry that they sent you to Cleveland. I mean, you got San Antonio, you've
what I
got
said.
Kansas City, you got Orlando, you got Cleveland. So I'm not sure what you guys did, but you got Cleveland. Is that fair?
A second.
If I'm not out of line, I think last year was in Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and it took Miss Polly days to get home because she had to drive. So I bet she might be okay with going to Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
Can we do all
Approve the
su-
following
Can we do all
individual.
the summer contracts as one? I mean, there's like 4 through 5. If anybody has objection, we just do it as one motion.
Is there any objection to that?
Okay. It's okay.
So we have no objection to have a motion to approve, yeah, 1 through 5. 1 through 5.
Yeah. I move we approve the following summer contract for testing that were listed and provided to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve administrative leave of a substitute aide.
Judy Surratt.
Mr. Ford, can we go into executive session? We got a lot of these and we just need to discuss them if you don't mind.
You need a second?
Yes, I need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. What executive section?
And then also in that, while we're in executive session, I would ask that we be able to conduct the annual evaluation of the superintendent all while we're in the session, okay? That's, is that okay?
That's
And then you,
Yeah, that's, yeah.
give me your second for that, okay? Good.
All those, everybody say aye.
Everybody.
Aye.
All right.
6:20.
executive session.
You back up?
Oh, we on? Okay. Okay, we're down to approved administrative leave of a substitute aide.
Judy Surratt.
I move we approve administrative leave for Judy Surratt as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approved administrative leave of a substitute teacher.
Erica Taylor.
I move we approve administrative leave for Erica Taylor as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approved administrative leave of an aide.
Mercedes Bloomfield.
I move we approve administrative leave for Mercedes Bloomfield as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. Approved administrative leave of an aide.
Amanda Hayhurst.
I move we approve administrative leave for Amanda Hayhurst as was submitted to us.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve administrative leave of a teacher.
Ashley Smith.
I move we approve the administrative leave for Ashley Smith as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve administrative leave of a teacher. Must be in the water or something.
Tamber Patton.
I move we approve administrative leave for Tamber Patton as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve suspension of a teacher.
Tamber Patton.
I move we approve the suspension of Tamber Patton as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Approve suspension of a teacher.
Tamber Patton.
I move we approve the suspension of Tamber Patton as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve suspension of a teacher.
Lauren Hutchinson.
I move we approve the suspension of Lauren Hutchinson as was submitted to us.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve suspension of a counselor.
Erica Hampton.
I move we approve the suspension of Erica Hampton as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve termination of an aide.
Bradley Lusk.
I move that we approve the termination of Bradley Lusk as was submitted to us.
All those in favor say aye. Conduct annual evaluation of our superintendent. Y'all have seen the evaluation. Do you have a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the superintendent with a satisfactory evaluation for the previous years.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's all we have on our agenda. Thank you for waiting. This meeting is adjourned.